Hello, and welcome to my impressions for brand new logistics game, Techtonica. The game is being developed and published by Firehose Games, which, as far as I can tell, is a wholly independent developer and publisher that is based out of Boston in the US Bay. Techtonica was released into early access on July 18, 2023, and is available on Steam, Xbox Series X, and Xbox One. It is also available on the Xbox Game Pass. Well, if you're here, you're probably wondering, is Techtonica worth playing on early release? Should you wait for the full release? Maybe not bother at all. I will go over my overall impressions, then describe the good, the bad, and my final thoughts on the game. Well, as with many things, I'm here to tell you the answer is going to depend on the type of gamer you are. Thus far, my overall impression is that the game has quite a bit of polish for an early access game, and enough content for several days of gaming depending on what you want to get out of the game. I have read that some people have had issues with frame rate on Steam, but I have not personally experienced that. The game has run quite well for me. I have played this on PC. I have not played it on Xbox, so I really don't know how it performs on an Xbox. As of right now, I played the game for around 6 hours, and while that's enough for an early impression, it's really not enough for a full-on review. So let's get on with it. So unlike many games in the logistics management genre, Techtonica has a definite story, and that is revealed as you explore the world and unlock technologies. Exploration and revelation of the story objectives are directly tied to the progression of your tech tree. So I don't think that there's a way of skipping the story and exploration if you simply want to build things. The world of Techtonica is beautiful with bright, saturated colors that fill the darkness of the underground caves that the game takes place in. There are tons of caves to explore, abandoned facilities to find, leftover bits of tech to discover. I found that the devs have done a great job of putting in the breadcrumbs that are necessary to figure out what might be a good place to explore. The 3D map does a pretty decent job of helping you figure out which way to dig to get to those interesting places. Researching is another way that Techtonica offers a somewhat novel approach. Different items in the tech tree require usage of differently colored research cores that must be manufactured and placed onto a core holder or container. This is similar to what you do in the Dyson Sphere simulator and the Factorio game. However, the cores take up space that must be accounted for, and additionally they also use up energy as you fill them up with research tech. So you have to take care that you're managing your energy economy as you research. Additionally, you also need to have this physical space available. And as you're building inside a cave, there is some limitation there that might not be immediately obvious as you research. Also, if you have automated the manufacture of your research cores, you'll find that you are filling up your research holders much faster than you might otherwise think, or much faster than in other games. The limitation comes from having the space and from having the energy to support all of the cores you're building. Additionally, the Techtonica gives you the ability to turn technologies on and off, which is interesting. If there's a tech that you're not currently need or that you can use later, you can choose to turn it off and then use those cores to turn on something else. You can think of the tech tree as a giant database, and the cores are the currently active memory of what is accessible through your tools. So this, to me, initially seems like an interesting system to manage It offers flexibility that might be useful to get yourself out of problems, such as if you're running out of energy because you forgot to refill all your extractors with fuel. There might be something in there that can help you. Lastly, the game systems seem capable of sustaining complex creative builds. It allows you to relatively easily create either spaghetti chaos or neatly aligned belts of factories. I suspect we're going to see quite a number of great looking builds from more talented creators than me. That said, there are still some red flags there that could be deal breakers for some people. As you progress through your exploration of the world and the story, more and more technology becomes available to you. The general pattern that I'm seeing is that initially you have to do things manually and then you can automate them. Just for example, at the start, the only way to generate power is to use hand cranks on power generators. Each crank lasts 5 minutes, and after that, the power generation stops until you pull the crank again. Eventually, power can be automated somewhat by chaining all the generators together such that one hand crank will crank all of them. Eventually, after that, you can also get a water wheel that will turn pushed by water power, basically classic water mill, um, and that will turn all of the connected generators, basically automating power at that point. But this means that every time you go explore, you kind of have a 5 minute timer, which after the timer's up, your factory will be sitting idle. Anything that requires power to run will stop running. And this limitation, I think, is a strange way of limiting what you want to explore. Because if you want to keep your factory running, you need to be 5 minutes away from your base. And if you're further away than that, you know that your factory is sitting idle. So I find this a little bit distracting from my exploration. I constantly kept wanting to get back to my factory to turn my hand crank. So if you just want to rush to the end game, the fact that the technology is unlocked via exploration, that nothing is available unless you build it out, that it requires building all of the research nodes in order to unlock technology. There's simply no shortcut that I'm aware of right now to get to this. So initially, you're going to have to live with a less than optimal factory that you will then have to tear down and build an optimized factory once you have the technology to do so. I can see that this could be frustrating for some players that just want to build the perfect factory from the get-go. Right now, there is no creative mode. There's no way of doing that. Additionally, I think UI overall could use a little bit of attention. There are many boxes and overlays of information that are visible to you. It's not super easy to get rid of them. For example, if you don't want to keep track of what your current task is, you can go to your journal, I believe it's called, and turn individual missions on and off. But that's about it. I don't think you can hide anything else, at least not that I found. Um, Lastly, there are very few logistical numbers available to figure out how to optimize your build. It's not clear how much power different buildings use or how much power each additional research core is going to need. In general, the player seems to be encouraged to overbuild in order to not run into situations where you're running out of power or raw material. It would be great if there is a way of seeing more information about the individual machines that you're building. How long does it take to smelt an iron bar? How long does it take to smelt a copper bar? In my playthrough, I was making way more copper than iron with similar setups on both. You clearly need more iron smelters than you need copper smelters. You need an equal number of bars. But in the end, I feel like these are small problems because the largest problem is something that Techtonica has no trouble surmounting. I'm talking about whether it's fun or not. And I found that for me, the combination of exploration, building, and discovery are enough that I just can't wait to get back into the game and just keep playing. I think if you're a gamer that enjoys exploration, that enjoys building factories, isn't going to be too bothered by the lack of information available to max out your build, then you'll have a great time with the game. On the other hand, you want to focus on building and prefer to be able to play creative mode, you may want to wait and see if the devs put one in. Thank you for watching. Game on.